So I didn't get all the screenshots off the computer and it got erased. And I was like, oh, fuck this. Like, anyway, so he leaves. Kristen and I are once again like freaking out. And I'm, intermittently bawling, hysterical, and terrified. And I'm literally running around my house, throwing what I can into boxes and suitcases. And I load it up into my car. And the next morning, Kristen and I leave. And I, thank God, had a place to land because the pre-construction condo in Toronto was my parents weren't living there full time. So I could go and, you know, live there and try and make sense of what was happening. And it was such a crazy time.
Welcome back. Last time, Heather Rovet told us how Jace, the man she thought she was building a life with, turned out to be a career con man living a double life under her own roof. In part 2, the story gets even more unbelievable. We pick up as the Canadian justice system moves at a maddening crawl. Jace vanishes to move in with his next target, while Heather thought they were working on the relationship. Heather turns amateur investigator, tracking down his other victims one by one, piecing together a pattern of theft, fraud, and manipulation that stretches back decades. She also opens up about what it took to rebuild after this trauma. A solo healing trip to Thailand. The moment she watched The Tinder Swindler and vowed one day to meet Cecilia Thelhoy, the main character in the documentary. Now, she's since connected with a growing network of women who've survived their own trauma and are done staying silent. This isn't just the rest of Heather's story. It's a case study in how the system so often fails victims of fraud and what it takes to fight back anyway. Here's part 2 of my conversation with Heather Rovet.
And it was such a crazy time. And then a week later, he was arrested but released on his own recognizance for a few charges for theft and crime for my mom's stuff, which started...
Release? Oh.
Yeah.
How much was the jewelry valued at?
Well, at that point, because we didn't have all the evidence compiled and it would take a lot longer it was just one count of theft under 5,000 and one count of crime obtained by theft under 5,000. So in Canada, I don't know if it's like this in the States, there's like 0 to 5,000 is a misdemeanor category and 5,000 and above is, you're going to trial, you're going to court. But that then started, as long as I was with him, like a 3+ year journey through the Canadian criminal justice system for just my mom's stuff. Wow. Now, Jace never pressed the assault charges, but I also, over the next few weeks, started to do my own deeper dive and realized just how much he had been living off me, like spending up my money. And then I would find hidden collection notices because he had opened accounts in my name and my business name. And then I found like more hidden jewelry and more stuff. And then I realized in this in-between time too, like what he had started stealing from the business, like actual furniture and stuff. And it just got bad. But the cops told me that whatever he took from me, whatever money he spent of mine, whatever he did to me, it was a domestic situation. I could sue him in civil court, but they did not want to press criminal charges because they were afraid if they did, even though he was stealing, they were afraid he would retaliate and then they would be forced to arrest me for assault. That was my life.
Arrest?
Yeah, they were afraid that he...
What is wrong with them?
I don't know.
Oh my hell.
I know. So
ridiculous.
Yeah, and then over the next few months, so I leave, and anytime after that, once he was arrested, anytime I needed to go to the Aurora house, which I still had the business there, so I was trying to like make sense of like liquidating it and getting rid of stuff and packing up my own life. Basically, if he were there, I'd have to get police to escort me in. And it was really an awful, 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 awful time in my life. And that was basically how I wrote out 2021. And then I decided within a few weeks, actually, of my life imploding, that if the cops weren't going to do anything, I wanted answers. And I wanted to know, like, I started going down some of my own rabbit holes, and I started reaching out to some of the people's like contacts that I had been able to get through the screenshots. And I met with a couple women, and they told me their stories. And then I realized, like, God, this guy had never stopped. And then I, through a friend, was connected to Leslie, who's in the documentary, and her story's harrowing too. And then I finally reached out to the mother of his son, and I listened to her whole story, and I was like, Jesus, like, that's not what he told me. Like, he just does this over and over and over again. And meanwhile, that whole month of August, when he claimed to be needing space, he had met his new target, like his new supply, as they call it in narcissistic abuse. And he had moved in with her after 2 weeks. Her best friend's in the documentary, and she says, like, Henry asks her a question like, how long did it take him to, how many months were they together before he moved in with her? And she said months. It was 2 weeks. That's how good this guy is. He had her figured out. So as luck would have it, and Jace would often tell people, like, Heather's very well connected. She knows a lot of people. And yes, I do. And it turned out that my sister's boyfriend's neighbor happened to be the editor-in-chief of Toronto Life magazine. So over a porch beer, Ken mentioned to him my story. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a deep dive journalistic story. I didn't want 6 o'clock news hit big headlines. I wanted somebody to do some research.
Right.
Because I didn't know how to do it. I mean, I will say I might have missed my calling. I could have been a pretty good private detective because I've learned a lot. But so I had a Zoom call with this guy and told him my whole story. And an hour and a half after telling him my whole story. And keep in mind, this is still weeks after it happening. There was no end. There had been no court case yet. He's just like this. He's like,
Sure.
So they decide to run with it, and they bring a journalist on, and she does a fairly good, in the time she had, a pretty decent deep dive. And through the family court records, she's able to sort of piece together some of, his backstory that shows the patterns and shows the criminal records and shows this guy's been in and out of jails and prisons his whole life. I think, if anything, when he was released in 2014 and met the woman who he had the kid with, he started getting even savvier and recognizing that when you have a long-term con feeding you and housing you, you can get away with a lot more. And so it's not that he never stopped doing crime. It just got harder to catch him, because in Canada also, even to arrest him, you need evidence. So Kristen says it so perfectly in the documentary that he'll go on a date with a woman. Maybe he sees her 2 or 3 times. They go back to her place. They get intimate. She's sleeping. She's in the shower. All he has to do is go and pick one thing, put in his pocket, pawn it. That gives him some money. She's not going to notice that thing's gone for weeks. Because how often do we wear all our jewelry?
Right.
Mine is in little baskets and boxes on my dresser.
What is the earliest you found that he was in trouble with this kind of, with stealing and conning people?
Well, I don't know what his early crimes necessarily are, but he was spent time in juvie. Like, he was from
Oh, wow.
probably 14, 15 in juvenile detention and out, and then cycled in and out of short jail stays here and there. And it wouldn't be until, like, the longest by far was the 3 years in federal prison, which, again, he only served 18 months. He was released, and he definitely violated the parole over and over and over again, because I don't think there's enough resources to keep eyes on these guys. And again, he's not a murderer.
Which
he's not.
You go to jail, right?
Yeah, I mean, for them to really take you seriously, he's not physically beating people up, as far as we know. He's just, it's like he's
And he's
a cockroach criminal. He's a cockroach criminal. Like, he's just like,
yeah, he's just living off of women.
He's stealing and lying and stealing and lying. And probably also, one of the crimes that he went to jail for back in 2012 was, I think what he was doing is the date goes to the bathroom and he somehow gets a piece of their ID and he was opening credit cards in people's names. So that's fraud.
Yeah. So originally he told you, he made you think that he was intelligent, successful, and had money. But didn't you end up paying for everything?
I paid for a lot of things. Like every now and then, yes, I realized he would buy groceries, but at one point I did notice, so for instance, when he moved in with me to my condo, I didn't need his money. It was my condo, right? So like I was already affording it. So he contributed minimally, like maybe 1,200-1,400 bucks a month. Nothing that he couldn't probably manage to steal and scam somebody out of a month.
Every month. Yeah.
So he, most months he paid me. A couple months when he was between the kitchen cabinet place and looking for the job, he didn't. And he would always make it seem like whenever I would ask about something, he was like, "Oh, I had to pay the lawyer. I had to top up for the family court, or I had to give more child support this month for my son, or I had to, like, okay." And I never wanted to come between him and his son. I never wanted to jeopardize that court case, But that was also the biggest scam of all, and that would happen probably about 2 weeks after I got in the computer. And after he'd been arrested. So the day he was arrested, he came by the house to drop off my dad's car. And I happened to be there because I was meeting with somebody from a staging company to hopefully sell a lot of the furniture too. And that was the last conversation he and I ever had. And we made a pact that, I could have the house during the day and he would sleep there at night, because he didn't think I knew about the new girl at that point, but I knew. And I would do things in the house when I would leave, like just to see if he would have slept there, because I'm so sneaky. I would like turn the bed down just a certain way, so if he had slept there, it would have moved, but he never slept there. Maybe once. So I'm at the house, and at this point I've started just like liquidating everything, and I put all the furniture I bought for his son's bedroom up on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm still there for like brand new, really nice, cute furniture. I sold it for dirt cheap, and the guy was coming to pick it up, and I figured, oh, I'll get a jump start. And it was a captain's bed, so it was like a little single bed with 3 drawers. And so I'm like, oh, I'll pull the drawers out and I'll take the mattress off, and like I was keeping the bedding, so I was like, I'll just get it ready so it can go. And I pull the drawers out, and I'm like, what's that under there? And again, I get this weird pang feeling. I'm like, uh-oh. And I look under, and I pull out, there's like a plastic grocery bag, and it's stuffed with stuff. I'm like, what is this? And then there's a stack of like documents, like bound document books. I have about 5 or 6 of them.
Oh, wow.
And I'm pulled these out. I'm like, what am I looking at? And it's the family court with the mother of his child. And the one that's on top is dated February 2019, and it's got a stamp on it that says final order. So there was never a family court case that he was, throughout our entire relationship, going to court for and retaining a lawyer for. And in that moment,
a way to be away from you without you questioning where he was, which is what scammers do.
There were times in our relationship where, like Enola, he went on a business trip with Oracle. He flew to Ottawa apparently for a day of meetings, but there was no business trip. So he was off being with somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly who. There was another time where he went to, apparently it was a guy's weekend, and he even sent me a picture of him in bed before, just saying, had a really fun day with the guys. I'm so tired. I'm just going to go to bed. I love you. I miss you. I'll see you tomorrow. And I spoke to that woman after the Toronto Life article came out, and I sent her the picture. I was like, was this when he was with you? And she said, that's my bed. I'm like,
I was just thinking that. I thought he probably sent that right before she came into bed or something.
Yeah. So I've lost kind of track of how many women there have been. but there have been many. I haven't spoken to all of them because, you know,
Have
it's not healthy for me.
To you?
Yeah. Yes. And in fact, I mean, as I said before we started recording, I just a couple weeks ago heard from a woman who used to date him when he was Jason Porter in 1998.
Wow.
And she's kind of the original victim.
Yeah.
I love her. Like, I could have talked to her all day, and I just find it fascinating to hear her stories. And I said to her, I'm like, you're so brave. And her reaction, like how she responded when the relationship ended, was very much probably what I would have done too. Like, you're 23 years old. Like, you don't necessarily know any better, and you just kind of blame yourself, lick your wounds, and move on.
Yeah.
But in my case, at turning 50, during all this craziness, I'm like, I'm not staying silent. I don't want him doing this to anyone ever again. I don't want him stealing from another family. I don't want him breaking other women's hearts. You know, he's a criminal. He's a really bad guy. So it's so sad, though, in the Canadian criminal justice system, like what he did to me currently is not considered a crime. He is in jail. Spoiler alert.
Get sent to jail for. Tell me about
For my mom. That's just for the crimes for stealing my mom's stuff.
Okay. Did your mom ever go to court with you? I know that you were there waiting for him.
Yes, that day in the documentary that's an interesting story. So that we hadn't been green lit yet for making the documentary. We were in what they call paid development with Prime Video, and they wanted to capture him coming to court that day and my reaction, which they did it brilliantly. Like, I'm like, oh my God. And he like, they were all just like, yes, like we couldn't get a better shot of this guy because he looks at the camera, turns around, pulls his parka hoodie up, throws his blazer over the front, and does the perp walk.
Coward.
Right in front of the camera.
Coward.
Such a coward. Anyway, so he sees us, he goes into court, and I had told the Crown Attorney and the OPP like the week before that I'm like, well, you know they're making a documentary about this story. This is how crazy it is. I do your fucking job.
Mm-hmm.
And I said they want to capture some footage at the courthouse. They're like, it's freedom of the press. Like, you can do whatever you want outside the court. You cannot have cameras inside the courthouse. You guys can't come inside. I wasn't allowed to go inside the court until I was testifying, right? So I was like, no, we'll stand outside, which is what we did. We never went inside. So that first day of court in January of 2024, remember, he was arrested in 2021. 2024, the trial's finally beginning. And at this point, the charges have increased because we actually hired our own lawyer to get more evidence, like to escalate the charges because we realized just how much he had stolen. So the Crown and the OPP, they increased the charges. So now that's why we're at trial, because it's over $5,000. So January 2024, we're freezing our butts off. We capture him going in, and then we're waiting for the camera guy just to get some exterior setup shots. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm like, why is everyone leaving? Like, it's a small town courthouse. We're not in Toronto. We're in Orangeville, Ontario, because that's where the farm was. So all these people are leaving, and we get in our car, and I get a phone call from the OPP detective, because that's who liaisons with us, not the Crown. The Crown attorney is like the district attorney. Oh. So I don't actually speak to the DA Crown attorney person. I go through the cop. And he said, Jace's lawyer was sick, so everybody's been sent home. And can you come back first thing, you're up Wednesday. You'll be our first witness, so plan to come Wednesday afternoon. I'm like, okay, great. Wednesday morning, I'm getting ready to go to court, Toronto to Orangeville. It's about a 45-minute drive. And I get a phone call from the OPP detective, and he said, were you at court on Monday? And I was like, yeah, I told you guys I was. I was going to be there, but I followed the rules like you told me. He's like, oh, okay. He goes, okay, just come for 1:00. I'm like, okay. And as soon as we hung up, I got this feeling in my stomach, like nerves, anxiety. I'm like, something's not right. Something's wrong. Paranoia, I guess you could say. And then about an hour later, I'm getting set to leave, and I get a phone call from the OPP. He's like, don't bother coming to court. It's been adjourned. There have been some very serious allegations brought forward, and I have to start an investigation. I'm like, what are you talking about? And that's when I mentioned it in the documentary, Jace showed up at court in the morning with these flyers that essentially now make it look like I've been jury tampering. So they had to adjourn the court and start the investigation, but all roads led to Jace, and Jace had made these flyers, but tried to make it seem like I had made them. And the flyers basically, were construed as jury tampering. So now he's got...
With the flyers on people's cars and the parking.
I think that's what happened. Like, apparently that's what I was told. They found these flyers throughout the courthouse. So, he's a bit of an idiot because they have cameras all around the courthouse. So who knows?
Well, and they know that you can't.
And for him to show up, it's like, everybody, a juror who hasn't even been selected yet has no idea what they're going to court for. So a juror wouldn't have made them. So I was asked to come and give a statement. So I'm like freaking out again. The production willingly hands over the footage that we had. And by the time I got up to Orangeville to give my statement, they had already looked at the courthouse cameras, which corroborated everything I had said. So, I know in my heart of hearts, like, I didn't do it, but we still had to figure out who did this. But of course, we know who did it.
Yeah. Right.
So I give my whole statement, and I'm like, why do I feel like I'm the one being punished again? Like, here I am with like a threat hanging over me. And I asked to see the flyer, and I look at the flyer and I kind of laugh. I'm like, that's so funny. And he's like, why? I'm like, well, first of all, like, that's not my phone number. It's wrong by a digit. So I'm like, why would I make a flyer wanting to interview people or get more information and put my phone number as wrong? And then I looked at it closer. I was like, had I made this flyer, I probably would have used a different picture of him, or maybe two pictures, because he's a bit chameleon-like and can look different wearing a baseball hat versus his glasses this way.
Yeah.
And I said, but it's funny, this picture, I'm like, I'm thinking, this actually isn't a picture. This is a screen grab from a video that he made of us. And the only place you can get that video, he edited it and uploaded it, is my YouTube channel. And I don't have any YouTube, like, out of all this, again, like, LinkedIn is like low rung, and then YouTube. Like, I don't really do a lot of social media. So
yeah,
I'm like, that's a screen grab from a video, not an actual picture. And it probably took maybe 4 or 5 weeks, but then Jace was arrested for new charges, which include obstruction of justice and jury tampering and something else. And the OPP detective has said these are very serious charges. It's a bit more serious than theft and crime, because it's like crimes against government, crimes against society. You lied to a Superior Court judge, So I really hope that the Orangeville courthouse and Crown sticks it to him, because that trial is set to start this September. I'll have to be a witness.
So that's a new charge in crime. So he's already in jail now, right?
Yeah. He'll probably be getting out. Again, it's Canada. He's not going to do the whole 2 years. So he'll probably get out sometime in August.
But this is not his first go round. I mean,
it's Canada.
Take his prior life into consideration. This guy is a career criminal.
And well, they kind of do, because, Enola, after all was said and done, when he actually finally did. So when that original trial from January 2024 got back on track, he manipulated the system. For months, he was saying he would do a plea deal. He would plead guilty. And, they were trying to do like a global resolution for Leslie's watch, the Cartier watch, my mom's stuff, and these new charges. They were trying to bundle it all together, and he was going to, do a plea deal. But he never did. And like on the day that he eventually showed up, after never showing up these days or those days, the day he eventually showed up to plead guilty, changed his mind, and he's like, I actually want to go to trial. And the judge was like, that's your right. You're allowed to. So another trial date was set, which bought him a few more months. And then finally that day, which was January 20th, 2025, the same day Trump got inaugurated, my dad's birthday, again, he passed during the making of the documentary.
Yeah.
Jace showed up and then pled guilty. My mom and I were in Florida at the time. We were both going to testify over Zoom because I was like, I didn't want to see him in person.
Yeah.
But then, so he ended up pleading guilty, and then it was going to go to a sentencing hearing. And the sentencing hearing started 2 months later, and I was back in Canada. So I went and read my victim impact statement in person. I did see him. It was awful. Like, talk about just toxic, evil energy emanating from him. And after all the time, after all those years, the Crown attorney, the DA, was asking the court for 1 year in jail for all of this. His lawyer was asking for 2 years house arrest with an ankle monitor. But thank God for the judge. She was like, no, this doesn't sit well with me. I need a bit of time to deliberate. And so she came back. I think everybody came back 3 weeks later, and she gave him the 2 years less a day. I was on a trip. I was in Italy for real. So, yeah. So the fake birthday gift where he gave me the Italy plane tickets that never existed. By that point, it's many years later now, and I'm in a new relationship, and the man I am dating, when he learned about my story, he was so sweet. He's like, I want to take you to Italy. I want to take you on that trip that you were supposed to have with him. So he took me on a trip where we were in Italy for over 2 weeks, and it was beyond my wildest dreams. So it's very true in the documentary when at the very end, you see me, and I had zoomed in to watch it from Italy. He's just a wonderful man. And as I said to you before we started recording, we just bought a house last week. So my stories come full circle.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's so nice to have a happy ending. As far as Dirtbag is concerned, he's going to get out in 2027?
No, he's probably going to get out in August of this year. Yes, because he'll
go back doing the same thing he was always doing, right?
I mean, the only saving grace is that he still has 2 outstanding charges that are both going to trial. So hopefully he, I don't know what's to stop him from running and just disappearing, except I get asked this question a lot. So for those who haven't seen the documentary, go watch it, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But when he was disappearing and had moved in with that woman, although a couple months into their dating, so one of the first things I saw when I got on the computer that day in Aurora, before I confronted him, there was a document on the desktop of his computer user that was somebody selling a dog back to a breeder, and I was like, that's what? And I saw the person's name, and I looked them up on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, that must be who he's with. And then I looked closer, and I noticed the address. I'm like, why is that address sticking out? Why? It's like, oh, because about less than a month earlier, Jace had taken an Uber from one place to that address, and he charged my Visa. And I remember asking him, like, why such a big Uber receipt? Because we hadn't broken up. I didn't know the truth at this point either, right? I was just like, why did you take that? One of my questions, and we eventually spoke. I was like, why such an expensive Uber receipt? And he said, oh, he's so quick. I was taking your dad's Mercedes in to get service. That's where the mechanic is. And I Google mapped it, and all it looks like is like a rural dirt road. So I was like, okay. So then I realized, what was happening. So then a few days after all hell broke loose, I tried to look this woman up on Facebook again, but I was blocked. I couldn't find her. I later would learn he had probably gone into her phone and blocked me because she didn't know who I was. But I now was sort of trying to figure out who she was. And if anything, just to try and warn her. But there were so many other moving parts at this point that it kind of fell out of my mind like for a few more weeks. And it wouldn't be until Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving, which is usually early October. I was at the farm and a friend of mine called me and I just downloaded to her what was happening. And I said, and there's this woman that I'd like to try and warn, but I know where she lives. And I'm like, this other friend of mine thinks I should just drive over to her house, but I don't really want to if he's there because I don't want to see him. And she's like, well, what's her name? I'll look her up on Facebook. So she looked her up on Facebook. And she's like, oh, she's friends with our friend Michelle. I'm like, that's it. It's Michelle. So we get Michelle on the phone. We're having a three-way call. We tell Michelle what's going on. And then Michelle's like, holy shit, I totally know her. I worked with her ex-husband for 10 years. She's been to my house for dinner parties. So we get the ex-husband on the phone. They're actually not officially divorced. But we tell the ex-husband what's happening. And he's like, oh my God, that man is living in my house with my kids. Like, holy fuck. So the ex-husband goes to the parents who live next door to her because she lives for free at a family compound. This woman, Jen, doesn't have a job. The family confronts her. It's like Desiree says in the documentary, they took a breather and kind of got as much evidence as they could together. And they confronted her and she was forced to ask him to leave her house. So where did he go? He went back to the house and run. What did he do? He fucked up the locks. And I was still in the middle of moving all my things out. So that's why every time from there on, I would need police to escort me in. And he made it not pleasurable, not easy, very, very traumatizing. But at this point, victim services couldn't even help me. Like it was beyond what they could do. So that woman, Jen, did break up with him for a couple weeks, but she did go back. And I am often asked now, all these years later, is she still with him? And to the best of my knowledge, she is standing by her man and she refuses to listen and doesn't want to watch the documentary and visits him in jail. So I have a feeling when he gets released in August, he'll just go and live with her and she'll protect him. And so even though he still has 2 outstanding charges, those still have to happen. The whole thing's crazy. It's just so crazy. And he knows how to manipulate the system. So, for instance, the Cartier watch trial was supposed to start. It should have been over and done with. It was supposed to happen in March. But the lawyer that he used for my mom's jewelry stuff, he no longer had her. So he needed a new lawyer. So he finally got one. And that lawyer is entitled to have a pretrial meeting with the Crown attorney and the judge and work out a strategy. And that just delays the whole process even more and more. So I'm afraid he's going to do the same thing with the obstruction of justice charges. I'm hoping not. I'm zooming in a couple weeks to the next court date for the Cartier stuff. And when I know what's going on, I'm then going to reach out to the Orangeville detective and the Orangeville Crown attorney's office and bring them up to speed, because if they can get ahead of it and figure out who his lawyer is for the September trial, maybe it won't get delayed and maybe he'll end up back in prison. He has 3 years probation when he gets out, which includes restitution to my mom. And if he misses a payment, it can trigger going back to jail. So you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be staying on top of that like
So there's a good chance he'll have to go back to jail because I don't foresee him ever paying your mom back. I mean,
unless his girlfriend pays some of it.
Unless he steals money from somebody else to pay that off.
Yeah. So that's where it stands.
Goes on, right?
Yeah.
Never probably stop.
And it's such a shame. It's just, in my victim impact statement, I basically had a line like, he's made a mockery of this system. Like, he knows it now. He knows how to manipulate it, how to stall it, how to buy himself time.
Yep.
And then on top of all that, chunks of my victim impact statement were redacted because he and his lawyer felt it was, not pertinent to the case. I'm like, oh my God, it's the victim is the victim. Like, I think this part got redacted, but I remember saying, while he might not rob banks with a gun, his weapons of choice are computers and cell phones. As if they,
he lives off other people. He's just.
I had a woman reach out to me in September or October. I think it was October of last year. And she had dated him briefly before me in maybe 2017, 2016. And she's like, I'm a psychotherapist. I was going through a divorce. My ex-husband's a criminal lawyer. And she's like, I got played by this guy. And she said she just wanted to know if I ever saw a particular ring because it was a beautiful, like she described it to me. I'm like, that just sounds stunning. But no, I had the next door neighbor from when he lived with the kid, and that woman asked me if I ever saw her grandmother's Tiffany diamond earrings. No. And without proof that it's missing, he can't get charged. It's so annoying. So I really do hope that I was told that these obstruction of justice and jury tampering charges are very serious. And I really, like I said earlier, I hope that they put their money where their mouth is and they stick it to him, because this could put him away for up to 10 years. And then by the time he gets out, he'll be an old man.
Yeah.
And it'll be a bit harder to call him. He already has. Apparently, like, there's all these weird little tidbit stories. Like, apparently he stole from his grandparents. Apparently he manipulated his dad's will when his dad was on his deathbed. Apparently he used to, like, go to open houses and steal. He robbed a lady in an old age home. I did find messages, like some of the screenshot messages, like this woman's like, I'm almost like 80. I'm your senior. He's like, that's okay. I think you're gorgeous. So that's where he's very much like the online.
Yeah.
He is the online Romeo, right? Like,
yeah,
he's not in a gang from Nigeria or like, he hasn't, like the guy in your last episode who got kidnapped to them. Oh God, let's not put that bug in his head. Right? Yeah, like he knows it's the playbook. It's the playlist, Really... I've compared so the one time I spoke to Jen, it was like a week after, her life blew up, and Desiree and I talked a couple times because the ex-husband, Mike, called me one day. He's like, would you mind talking to Jen's best friend, Desiree? She's just like, she really wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay. So I sent Des a message before we spoke, and I said, look, I'm more than happy to talk to you. Can you just do me a favor? Just go look at my Instagram. You're going to see posts of Jace and me, and you'll see I'm happy and I didn't make this up. Like, I'm not a jealous ex-girlfriend, because I bet that's what he's saying to her. And Des wrote back, she's like, I already believe you. Don't worry. Like, that's the saddest thing with the whole Jen thing. It's like the one thing I feel, it's like, the women I've met through this are so incredible. And if we're not going to believe one another, who the hell are we going to believe? Well, and it lets the scammers keep scamming.
Yep, absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned,
who are kind and generous and trusting, that's who they pick.
Yeah. And I don't want to change those characteristics in me. Have I gotten wiser as smarter? Absolutely. So I hope that my story shows people that if you get scammed, it can happen to anyone. It doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you vulnerable, because I don't think vulnerability is a weakness. I think when you're vulnerable, it's so beautiful. It's like you're opening. But there are bad people amongst us. And you're right when you say they know how to target us, because they are attracted to the light, because we are the light. We're the goodness, and they want that. They're so empty, these people.
Yeah.
That they need us to fill them up. And of course I'm trusting. When Jace would mirror me, and he knew what my greatest fears were, and which was, probably growing old alone. And he made it seem like we were it. Like, we were going to go the distance. We were going to grow old together. He'd waited his whole life to meet me. Oh, that's what I was saying. So when I one day finally did speak to Jen, she was still in I don't know where her head was at, but she was telling, I had to sit there for I think we spoke for 2, maybe 3 hours. And I had to hear that month of August, when I was in so much pain and agony and not knowing what was going on with my life. She was living her best life, because that's the very, very beginning with him. And that's when the love bombing is so intense. And she's riding high on all the like dopamine and the oxytocin and like all the feel good hormones and the sex all day, everywhere, whenever, him making her feel like the goddess that she is. And she said, he even told me last week, I'm the air he needs to breathe. And I'm like, why does that sound familiar? Air I need to breathe. I'm like, and that's why I said, yeah, I heard that line too. And then sure enough, going back through all the text messages, I'm like,
Yep.
there it is. I'm the air he needs to breathe. Like, he has lines and they work. Leslie and I have compared them all too. And in a way, I love that woman. Leslie, she's so strikingly beautiful. And she's also with a great guy now. And, when she met him, she was just freshly divorced. And it's like she said, she's like, I hadn't dated in years. And in a way, I think her reality got ripped quicker than mine, which I think in a way, like some days I wonder, I'm like, I'm not going to lie. It hurt. And it took me a long time to like get over the pain. And at some point, it's just like I went through like a self-exorcism and just was like, I got it all out, like the rage, the sadness, like I had to let it go. And it still comes in waves. So sometimes like I get pissed off when I think of him getting out. And, Jen, as far as I'm concerned, like I'm not going to say anything disparaging about her, but she enables him. She's like an enabler to an alcoholic. And if she can live with that on her conscience, that she's letting a predator back out into the world, okay, that's on you.
Well, she'll come to see the light eventually. And unfortunately, she probably won't be in a good place when it happens. She'll have given him everything, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's next for you?
Well, I'm very fortunate. Partly thanks to the documentary. I have signed with a literary agency. So I have an agent and I'm writing my memoir. And it's going to be so...
Are you going to
be good.
Women in your book too?
I don't know. I wonder if that's a great question. I might write a second book because I really want my first book to show it's mine. Because I'll tell you this, when I was going through it, like I said, at some point in the thick of my craziness in the fall of 2021, I turned 50. And that's a milestone of a birthday. And I didn't think at 50 I'd be living out of boxes and suitcases, homeless, trying to like pick up the pieces of my life. But I also wanted to do something to honor myself. So I decided to go away. I'm like, I'm going away. And I started dubbing my trip Heal Tan Tone, like Eat, Pray, Love. I'm like, Heal Tan Tone. I'm going away. I'm going to get in shape and I'm going to mend my heart and my head and see what I can do. And so I went to Thailand for the winter. I gave myself the birthday gift of, with some help from my family. Like I went to Thailand and
yourself?
I wanted to go far away. I just wanted to be alone. I wish I could have brought Baxi, but I knew he was in good hands. It was just opening up to tourism.
Wow.
So I opened my Kindle and I'm like, okay, I want to read what happens next to Heather. Like I wanted to read my story. I wanted to know that it was going to work out and it was all going to be okay. And I wanted to know what I had to do. I wanted to know that somebody had gone through this and come out the other side, but I couldn't find the Surviving Dirty John book because it hadn't been written. And when I was in Thailand, Tinder Swindler came out. So all my friends were messaging me saying, you've got to watch this show. You've got to watch Tinder Swindler. So I watched it towards the end of my trip one night when I just was, in a really nice hotel, had Netflix. I'm like, okay. And I watched it. And I was like, oh, that's a crazy story too. And I told myself after watching it, I was like, I'm going to meet Cecilia one day. I just know it. Our paths are going to cross. And thanks to Anna Rao from England, she connected us. So like I actually went to London last fall and gave my first public talk and I met Anna and Cecilia and, we're all, and now we're all like, I want all of us to come together and start a movement. And it's, the only way this is ever going to stop is by releasing the shame, taking your power back, telling your story, trying to make changes, whether it's through the dating apps, like those people, through the banking systems, through government. I've gone now twice to meet with members of provincial parliament. They would like to try and bring forth a romance fraud bill. What that'll look like, I don't know. But it's small little changes, so it's happening. Like intimate partner violence is gaining more and more awareness, which is amazing.
And
And I do think
sentencing needs to be strong, I think. I mean, these guys, the Tinder Swindler did, he got off easy. And your guy,
I know
is, according to me, is getting off easy. And
there was a case in Western Canada, I think in Alberta, and the judge deemed the guy a violent offender, which is like a very harsh title in Canada. Like the violent offenders here are usually serial killers. So the fact she was labeling a romance fraudster a dangerous offender. And I understand why, because they will get out and they wreak havoc on people's lives. Like,
and not just,
when you're,
person.
I know. It's so funny. Like, one of my dear friends, he's a nurse and he works sometimes at the CAMH, the Canadian Mental Hospital, like here in Toronto. And we were talking and I said, the thing with these disorders, the narcissism, the psychopathy, sociopaths, antisocial borderline personalities, or whatever the other ones are, Machiavellianism. It's not like you can give these people a pill to control it. It's not like schizophrenia where if you take your medication, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
There's no pill.
Yeah. How do you make these people stop?
Such a good. Yeah. But I found it interesting in the conversation you had with Anna and Becky, how you were saying at one point too, like somebody was saying that the guys like Jace and Simon and the in life ones, they're definitely narcissists. And Jace is a psychopath. Like when I read the checklist, the Harris checklist, I'm like, oh yeah, he's got that trait. Yeah, he's a psychopath. But you made the point that the gangs, like the people in Cambodia and wherever, like these backroom businesses, they're scripting. It's so fascinating that they're using the language to click the love bombing.
The same thing that Jace is doing. How do they all figure all this out?
I know, because at the end of the day, you do want to be told, I love you and you're pretty, and like, we're human. We're built to connect, and they weaponize it. They're weaponizing the most beautiful thing in the world, which is love, and it's so sad.
It is.
But I think we can, if we just keep going.
We have to. I mean, you can't drop out now just because you're happy and you have it long.
I won't. No, and he's so sweet. I remember when the trailer to the documentary came out, I sent it to him and I was like, we've already been back from Italy for a couple months, and I'm like, I understand if you never want to talk to me again. And he watched it and he called me. He's like, I love you more than ever. I'm so proud of you. I really am proud of you. I really would love to keep advocating. I would get me in front of a room full of cops, detectives. Like the way the cops dealt with me is pathetic, and that needs to change too.
That's horrible.
At one point in a lot, I was like, is this guy a paid informant?
Yeah.
I couldn't understand. I was like, I felt like they were protecting him. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Most of Jace's exes get the fake suicide attempts. Leslie talks about it in the documentary. I know he did it with Jen. I know he did it with the mother of his child. But for some reason, I'm the only one that gets almost arrested. But like I said, he messed with the wrong person this time. When he gets out in August, I will be telling people. I'll tell the media, just so you know, the predator is back out.
I need to let you go. I have kept you way too long. I could talk to you the rest of the day. Trust me. And this has been so fun. Fun talking to you, but not a fun subject.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And you. Keep me updated on what's going on with you.
Okay.
I'll buy your book as soon as it comes out.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.